Hey guys, I'm at my favorite amusement park today, Knoebels Amusement Resort. The reason I'm here today is to show you guys how the park looks in the off season. Now, a lot of people aren't aware of the amount of work that the park goes through to prepare for the winter season, so we're going to check that out today. I'd also like to point out that I did receive permission from Knoebels to not only be here, but to make this video, as they don't want visitors here in the off season. There's a lot of projects and things going on, and a lot of safety concerns, so don't attempt to come here on your own. Just enjoy it through this video. So let's go check it out. Alright, right now we're behind the Sklush, and in Pavilion S you can find the Sklush boats. You can also see they have the seats from the Merry Mixer, also known as a Scrambler. You can see there's some big wheels that these ride on to go down the Flume. It's pretty neat to see these outside of the ride itself. Now back here behind the rest of the cars is the coaster cars for flying turns. Now it looks like this is just the body of them. The frame has been removed, probably just to take better care of them somewhere else, but these are the actual cars that you sit in. Now over here under Pavilion E, we see their float, which they use in Christmas parades. It has a carousel on there, and I think a flying turns car and shoot, as well as a miniature train, which is pretty neat. But behind that, we got the seats to, I believe that's downdraft. Let's get a closer look. Yeah, I believe this is downdraft, which is right near the Ferris wheel. And you can see they have plug outlets in the side of them that provides the power for the lights, and it looks like a air valve which controls the locking mechanism of the bars, I believe. Now if you take a look over here, do you see something in the distance? Let's get over there and check them out. That is at least half of the antique cars from Gasoline Alley. They're situated here under Pavilion R. And if you didn't know, these can actually operate just like a regular golf cart or go-kart. They don't require the rails to operate. That's just to keep them on the track. But they literally drive these over here. Here's a closer look at them. Obviously they're a little dirty and dusty, but they're kept out of the elements though. At least they're not getting rained or snowed on, which helps keep them in good condition. It's pretty neat to see them out here. And also another fact, at least some of these cars, I'm not sure how many, they were purchased from Rocky Glen Amusement Park. That's a old abandoned park that closed in the 80s, I believe 85 or 86. Right around that time, and Knoebels purchased the cars at an auction and restored them, brought them here, and as far as my understanding, at least some of them are still in use today. Another thing you'll notice too around the park, especially in the pavilion area here, lots of them are enclosed and basically weatherproof so that they can still work on either rides or projects, and they could have the heat inside and keep out of the rain and snow. So I'll show you some of those when we come across them. Okay, here's one of the former pavilions. I believe they repurposed it for something else. It's now completely enclosed. As you can see, there is a log flume boat underneath. It's pretty neat to see. And here's a look at one of the log flume boats up close. As you can see, the wheels are removed. I believe this is one of the older style boats, as the newer ones have a higher back. It comes up a little higher, almost like a headrest. So I believe this is one of the older original ones. There's all the wheels for them. Just to show you, the police do actively patrol this area too, just to make sure no one's doing any vandalism or anything. So that's why it's advised to not just come here on your own without giving some notice. And this is probably the only time you'll ever see the parking lot this empty. And right off to the left here is some more things. There's a, looks like a more restored antique car, which you use for, I believe, in parades. Has Knoebels grills on the side. This one doesn't have the rollers on the bottom to keep it on the rails. This one they could drive around wherever they'd like. I just wanted to show this real quick. We're still under Pavilion F here, and you can see they made this into, it looks like a paint booth, where they could touch up any of the rides or give them a fresh coat of paint. Alright, earlier I showed you the Sklush cars, and now we're at the Sklush itself. Everything has a relatively fresh coat of snow. It did snow a few times over the past week. And you can see how high the water goes up to the line there. It's probably about 4 feet deep. And this is what propels the boats into the station. A set of chain-driven axles and wheels. You rarely ever see that because it's obviously underwater. That's how the boats dock into the station. Once they leave the station there, the boats attach onto the chain lift, just like on a roller coaster. And those rails to both sides is what those wheels roll on the boats, just so it has something to make contact with while it's going around the track. Now, a lot of the rides that can't be removed or too much trouble to remove are simply covered in tarps and canopies, as you can see here. And we're going to make our way up towards the Ferris wheel and Impulse. Now, right behind the Ferris wheel, under another pavilion, are these mini Himalaya cars. I forget what it's called exactly, but it's basically a mini Himalaya. And they're sitting here. And here is a look at the Ferris wheel, also known as the giant wheel. As you can see, they removed all the canopies from the cars. Actually, they covered the seats with the canopies. I didn't even see that. So that'll help keep the rain and snow out of them. They look almost like little flying saucers now. And one fact about this Ferris wheel is actually the largest Ferris wheel in Pennsylvania. A lot of people don't know that. Earlier I showed you the seats for downdraft. And that's it right there under the tarp. It's completely collapsed. And behind that is the new giant claw machine. And there's the balloon ride with a canopy over it. To the right here, behind this little stand, what's the name of that ride? Power Surge. That's completely collapsed, stored away. A lot of these rides that they do have are actually portable rides, or able to be moved around from park to park. A lot of carnivals buy these type of rides, but Knoebels usually permanently install them here, but they do collapse and fold down for the off season. Alright, now we're at the Impulse, and there's not really much to see here. The cars are removed from the track. The station's completely empty. And that's all they really do to prepare for the winter for this ride. And right next to that we got the Skyway, also known as a chairlift. This is one of my more popular rides here at the park because the view down's amazing. You get to see everything, especially at night, all lit up. And a known fact about this chairlift is actually was purchased from a ski resort in Vermont. And it was transported here and installed for Knoebels. And here's a sign stating the facts. I'll let you read that for a moment. If you need to, just pause the video. Here we have the Whipper, which is another classic ride. And this is already under its own little pavilion, so they don't really need to do much as far as preparation goes. This ride also was purchased from a now defunct amusement park called Croups Glen in Hunlock Creek. Knoebels obviously purchased it and restored it to its former glory, and it's one of the more popular rides here at Knoebels. One thing I want to show you really quick, there's a lot of cats around the park. I've seen one or two during the season, operating season, but I've come across at least a half dozen today. I think I got one of them on film. The rest of them ran away, but it's definitely one of the hangouts for cats in the summer. I'm sorry, in the winter. Here's a look at the waterway for the motorboats. It's all filled up with leaves and everything. They have a lot of work ahead of them in the springtime to get this ready. Partially frozen. And that right there, believe it or not, is the salt and pepper shaker, is also known as the Satellite. There's one ride here I've never ridden and probably never will. I just don't think I can handle being twisted around like a washing machine. Alright, right here we got the Galleon. This was new, I believe, for the 2016 season. They replaced the old one, which was in needed of many repairs, so they purchased a brand new one. And next to it is the Italian Trapeze, better known as the Swings. Now this roof, if you've ever ridden the Skyway or the chairlift, you might recognize this roof. This roof actually sits on, I believe, pieces of wood or pallets on the bottom part of the mountain, and it's just a big, like, cone-shaped roof, and that's what it's used for, to cover the Italian Trapeze. It almost reminds me of like a circus tent with all the poles and the ropes and cables, and a lot of the chairs get kind of just pushed together or chained together, just so they don't swing around too much during high winds to damage anything. This is another beautiful ride that you see at nighttime with all these lights and really nice artwork on it. Okay, now we're going to head over towards the bumper cars. Before we get to the bumper cars, I just want to show you that this is indeed the Satellite. Not that you had any doubt of it, but just to show you the view you normally see when you're boarding the ride. I actually never knew it collapsed down like that. And they obviously removed the capsules that you sit in. So that's pretty neat that it does that. And right here is the bumper cars, and I believe they're doing some work on them. They have part of the fence down and some materials in here, so we'll just take a peek inside. You can see there's like backhoe tracks or loader tracks so they could load or unload things. These are rated more than one time the best bumper cars around. These are known as, the official name is the scooters. These are heavy metal frame and body bumper cars, and not only do they go fairly fast, but they hit hard, and they're a lot of fun to drive. Here we have the motorboats. I showed the channel for it earlier where the boats drive down. And here's the operator controls. These are all air valves that control the spacing for the boats with these little, I don't know what you want to call them, maybe like wedges that push out. And you can see straight through the bottom. It's one of the few times you could actually see the bottom of this channel. It's always really murky from all the debris and boats going through it. And it looks like they use this little hoist here to lift the boats out of the water, probably put them on a forklift and then put them in storage. Now, a lot of these rides I did film specific videos for over the past several years. This one I filmed this past season as a point of view. I put the camera on the boat and we took a ride around it. So all you have to do is just click on the Knoebels playlist on my channel and you'll find all the videos there. Alright, here we have the little RC boat area. This is where you put in some quarters and you drive a little motorboat around. All these houses right here are usually along the back side of this little pool. And back here is the kiddie ride, so we'll just take a quick look through there. If there's anything interesting, I'll point it out. Alright, right here we have the cup cars. And this is like a miniature version of the antique cars, except for the part you don't actually steer. The cars just ride on this rail around the track. They're electric powered. And I believe I know where these are being stored at, so when we get there I'll point them out to you. You can see they still have some decorations from Halloween time. So you can see a lot of the kiddie rides are being stored under here. I believe this was, if I'm not mistaken, the bounce house. So here they have some of these little caterpillar rides, the helicopters. Those right there, let me get a little closer, and those are from the mini Ferris wheel, and the electric powered excavators, which are pretty neat to play with. They're coin operated. Right there, I believe, is part of the bounce house. Now over here is the mini whip, or the kiddie whip, and it looks like they have some other things stored here as well. Some soldiers, I don't know what those are from. And there's the whip cars. As you can see here, they take a lot of the rides right down to the frame itself. Nearly everything is removed except the actual frame and the gearing and motors, which is covered up there. And we're going to head back here to, if I pronounce it correctly, the Stein and Goldstein Carousel. And the reason this is something I want to show you is just because of its history and just to show you how they prep it. But this is also another ride that they purchased from Krupp's Glen in Hemlock Creek. I'll show you the sign here. You can see it was purchased in 1948 from Krupp's Glen. And pretty much all the horses are removed, which is no surprise. A lot of these are hand painted, so they want to keep them in top condition. This is a smaller carousel, but it's still pretty. I like some murals. They have a coal breaker there and a steam engine. Alright, right here is my favorite ride, the Haunted Mansion. Now we obviously can't get inside, but we'll take a look at the exterior. One thing that is pretty obvious already is that the cars all removed. They're all stored inside. Let's take a quick walk here on the platform. Now this is one of the few rides that actually has heat inside. Now the whole interior isn't heated, but if you guys remember the skeleton room, which is now the upside down room, that used to be their former workshop, and they actually built an addition off the side of that, which I showed in one of my videos. But that room has baseboard heating so that they could work on the props in the cars. And that's right where you would enter. You can see camera systems here showing who goes in, who comes out. This is the exit, which is locked up, but the car comes out here and you get off right here, and then the cars continue on down to pick up the next rider. This is rated under the top 10 dark houses across the country, I believe. There's actually a DVD on this ride which I own. It's made by a company called Laugh in the Dark, and they basically go through everything inside the haunted house, showing the props, the controls that are inside the casket here, and they provide a lot of information about it, including the backstory. And I believe Dick Knoebels himself is actually in that video explaining how they came about getting this ride, information about the pretzel cars that they use on the track. So if you ever get a chance, look up that DVD online. I believe it goes for $25. If you're a fan of dark rides or Knoebels, I'd advise picking it up. Alright guys, my battery's getting low. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to switch over to my next one. Alright, we're back. Got a fresh battery, so we're good to go. This is a look at the, I believe this is called the Paratrooper. All the cars are removed off it. It's basically just the frame of it. Even the platform's removed. And over here, under Cesari's Pizza, we have some more ride cars. Alright, we got a mixture of things here. Excuse me, starting off with the Tilt-A-Whirl. Here's the signs for it. And I believe those are the lights for it. Screen panels, I believe, are the flooring of the Paratrooper that's straight through the trees there. I believe that's what it is. And here we got the Paratrooper cars themselves, the seats. And you can see they have Monroe shocks. I believe that's to help stabilize it so it doesn't swing out of control. And here we have the Tilt-A-Whirl cars minus the back canopy part. Gotta tell you, it's pretty interesting to see these rides and to see these cars and everything out of their normal place. You never really see them under a pizza canopy here, sitting on a pallet. You can see they have the wheels underneath there. Some of these cars, I forget what they're from. It's one of the Kiddie rides. They're basically hooked up to an arm, which is right there, that spins around a circle. And I believe you press the buttons and the horn beeps. They're pretty neat looking cars. They all have that metallic paint finish, which makes it really sparkle. Alright, right here we're looking at the Loch Flume area, which we'll check out more closely in a minute. And those of you that are familiar with this place, this is the International Food Court. And for the time being, it's now a temporary garage. If you're not aware of what these are the Cub cars that I showed you earlier over in the Kiddie section with the track. I've actually ridden in these cars. Surprisingly, they're big enough to fit an adult because the middle section there is opened up. You could fit your feet in there. Now, the steering wheels don't do anything. They're just for show. But these horns, they make like a buzzer sound. The lights light up on them when they're going around the track, and they're controlled by an operator that sends them off. Once they start going, they continue their loop around the track. These are really neat cars. I think they're pretty interesting. I'm sure if you wanted to, you could convert one of these into like a go-kart with a little gasoline engine. Here we have the Loch Flume boats and the flyer cars. This is another unique ride of Knoebels, one of many, because this is powered by I believe it's a former gasoline engine. Now it's powered by propane, but it's an actual combustible engine that powers this ride, where 99% of them now are electric or pneumatic. These rides are pretty crazy because this is like a big sail, and when you're going around at a fairly high rate of speed, this thing gets going pretty crazy. You go up and down pretty high and pretty fast. So if you like something that's kind of thrilling and something that you could control yourself, this is the ride for you. This is another repurposed ride. It came from, I believe, in New Jersey as the Golden Nugget, and Knoebels purchased the ride, converted it into the Black Diamond. Okay, yeah, the cars are still sitting here on the track, but it is a covered platform here, so they're safe out of the weather. This is a really neat ride, though. They have pretty good theming inside for coal mining, and they have an area for Centralia, which, as you guys know, I've filmed there many times. It's from the underground mine fire that basically forced the town to evacuate, so they have some remnants in there of that. Alright, right over here is the Loch Flume area. We'll take a look at that. Now you can see the Loch Flume area is partially filled with water. Not completely filled, but there is water in here. It's frozen. Now we can't get all the way up there on the platform because it is fenced off, but I'll get us a little bit closer look. But here's a look at the Loch Flume. Nothing really going on with it. I saw all the cars are removed around the park. They're under different areas. Just want to show you, this is the loading and unloading area of the Loch Flume. It's a series of rollers there, which I believe a belt goes around to help propel the boats through the station there. I just want to show this real quick. This is the Loch Flume pool area, and they have an overflow pipe to help keep the level at a certain height, just so it doesn't get too high. Alright, do you guys know what this ride is? Kind of hard to tell because it's completely stripped. But this is the Tilt-A-Whirl. I did show you the cars earlier that are under the one pavilion. And this is a neat look at it to see how it operates. Now over this metal structure here, there obviously was a platform that you could walk on. And the ride cars are attached around the exterior of the perimeter there, the circle. And these wheels right around this frame here, and you can see it's an up and down motion which causes the cars to tilt around and turn and spin and basically go out of control. This is a look you never really get to see of it. The exterior is usually covered by a canopy or like almost like a circus tent material, and obviously this is covered by a platform. And here's the motor that propels it. Looks like it's an electric motor that connects onto a pulley system that propels this around. It's just pretty neat to take a look at it like this. As you can see, this lever here looks like it engages or disengages the pulleys. It puts tension on it. It also serves, I believe, as like a brake to help slow it down faster. Right behind there is the Cosmotron at the indoor Himalaya ride, where they play music and have all the lights and everything going. So that's already protected. So let's see what else we can find. Okay, here we have some of the smaller gift shops, the log flume photo area, and where a lot of the carnival games are. And this is the Phoenix Junction, one of the restaurant areas here. And we're making our way around to the other side towards the Phoenix. Okay, now here we have a bunch of lumber material here. That's because they're doing some extensive work on the Phoenix. They're retracking a large section of it. We'll take a closer look at that in a moment, but this is basically one of the reasons why they don't want people wandering around the park, just because there's a lot of things you could trip on. You could fall and get hurt, and a lot of heavy equipment, so just wanted to point that out. Here we have the orange set of coaster cars from the Phoenix. This is a look you never get to see because they're always up there in the station and on the rail on the track. So you can see there's the wheel system. There's different wheels, a small wheel there. Looks like it goes underneath it to lock it. It rides on the top part of the rail, and that's the inner rail. So there's looks like a 3-point contact to keep the coaster car on the track. I'm not sure which one the front one is. Maybe it's over there, but you can see they have a almost like a hitch system to connect them to each other. They are locked. I believe they use an electrical contact or current to release the locks. So until the operator presses that button, they do stay locked. Oh, there we go. There's the front of it. Let me get over there. Alright, and there's that awesome Phoenix symbol. This is one of the best coasters around. If you're a fan of wooden coasters and you've never ridden this, you owe yourself a favor to do so. It's rated in the top 10 wooden coasters in the country, if not the world. It's not the highest or the fastest or the longest, but anyone who could ride it could tell you it's really exhilarating. It really, so to speak, makes you fly out of your seat. There's a series of like bunny hills that if the lap bar wasn't there, you would fly right out of the seat just from the amount of force that it projects to you. And it's also a very smooth coaster too. Compared to a lot of wooden coasters, it's not something that'll give you a headache. That's one reason I really enjoy it. And this one here is the car that sits out in front of the Phoenix, where guests can sit inside and get your picture taken. Now with the Phoenix, I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to show you, just because I don't want to go in areas I'm not allowed to go. But on the way in to park here, I did notice that a lot of the track was newly rebuilt. This coaster, if you're not aware, also came from San Antonio, Texas. It was a coaster called the Rocket, and I believe the park closed down there, and Knoebels purchased it and had it trucked piece by piece to the location you see it now, and they reassembled it. And I believe that's one of the earliest times that a ride of this size, this magnitude, was disassembled, transported, and reassembled. And it's one of the most popular rides, one of the most popular coasters in the area, if not the country. Okay, now I can't quite make my way in there, but you can see in the middle there's brand new lumber, and the rails aren't even on it yet. They're still mid-construction on it, and it makes its way up and around. I believe this is like a middle layer of the track, or the return. It may be the bunny hops. I'm not sure which one this is. I think on the, actually no, I believe it goes up this way after it makes its loop in the back. Here we have Gasoline Alley. This is the rest of the antique cars. They have them under the canopy here, under their station, but they obviously can't fit all of them here. That's why we saw the rest of them out near the parking lot. And this ride was completely redone over for the Halloween season. This is their main attraction for Halloween time, for Hollow Fun Nights. They have the park, not only the park decorated, but this ride itself is completely themed out. They have tons and tons of props. They have live actors that scare you. They have animatronics. They have lighting. It's a really, really cool ride to ride in the Halloween time. All right here we have the site of their new ride for 2017, Over the Top, but it never officially opened. I never really got a specific reason why. I do know they did testing, and there's video of some of the Knoebels family members riding it during testing, and basically it's like a giant pendulum. You basically stand in it, and it just goes over the top in a circular fashion both directions, and it just never opened. I don't know if there was something wrong with the ride itself or something regarding safety, but with all fingers crossed, hopefully it opens for 2018. All right, here we have one of my daughter's favorite rides, the Fandango. And this is like a giant pendulum itself. It just rocks back and forth while the seat platform spins around. I rode this one time, and I was literally blue in the face when I came off. I got so sick to my stomach. It's something I'll never ride again. But she could ride it probably 10 times in a row and it wouldn't affect her. And the neat thing about this ride, though, is this platform on the bottom actually lowers almost like an elevator. That way when it's swinging, the rider's feet don't touch it. Alright, here we have the Wipeout, which is just covered up with a tarp. And here you can see the new section of track being put in. All that new lumber is brand new for the upcoming 2018 season. No rails on it yet, but it is some upkeep and maintenance just to make sure it's gonna live a long future here at the park. Just to show you, this is where the antique cars go. This is part of the track here. And again, this is all themed out for Halloween time. It was filled right along both sides of the track here with props and facades and everything else. It's pretty neat to see. Like I said, if you haven't rode it Halloween time, definitely come down. They're open on weekends in Halloween. I'm sorry, in October. Let's look at the Phoenix. It's eerily quiet here. Obviously there's some people here today. Have you seen cars driving through security and everything, but You know, when you're here, you're used to hearing the rides operating, you're used to hearing people laughing and screaming, and it's a pretty unique experience to be here by yourself. It's almost like a ghost town, almost like the park's abandoned. Obviously it's not. Everything's just hibernating for the winter, but you know, 99% of the people out there have always been here when the park is open. Alright, I got a couple more things I want to show you, so we're going to continue on. Here we have the flying turns. I showed you the cars earlier under that pavilion, and here's the flyer. And this is that one where you move the sail around to control your direction up and down. And under that tarp is the, I believe it's propane powered engine. And right here is the looper, where you and a partner sit down facing each other in a circular cage, and you make it roll around 360 degrees around a track. Alright, right here, this is the reason why we have Knoebels. This is where it originally all started. Back in the 1920s, this was just a swimming hole, and it grew from there. And one unique fact about this pool is that it's a freshwater pool. They do not use chlorine in this water. It's spring-fed water, and they have a powerful filtration system. And it's really one of the best pools around, in my opinion, just because you don't stink like chlorine. It's clean, clear water. It's very refreshing. And on a hot summer day, it's packed here. I believe this is a zero entry pool, 0 foot entry, which means you basically walk in from out of the water, and then it gradually gets deeper as you go through. Or it could be a set of steps, I forget. It's been a couple of years since I was in the pool, but either way, it's a very nice pool to come to on a hot summer day. In the background there is the Twister. It has a second wooden coaster of Knoebels. It's my least favorite just because it's a very rough ride. It shakes you up like crazy, and I come off with a headache. But some people love it. Here we have another favorite ride of mine, is the Pioneer Train. And this is I believe it's a 1.5 mile loop, I'm not mistaken. It takes you back through the woods, loops around and comes back. But the unique thing is, back through the woods they have an area where they have a feeding station to feed squirrels and deer and whatever other wildlife decides to come through. As you can see, they keep this pretty well protected. It's inside not only is it under the station, but it's protected by a canopy on the outside there. There's the green Pioneer Train. They do have 2 additional trains. They have a red steam locomotive looking one and a diesel one. And I'll show you where they keep those at. These are really cool. I've always said if I ever win the lottery, I get one of these put on a large piece of property. Now if you can see there's another canopy area. That's where they keep the 2 additional trains. This is a very enjoyable ride. Very relaxing. Even on a hot summer day, you're back there in the woods and the trees. It's nice and shady and breezy. And this is another ride too that's decorated for Halloween time. They always have some sort of theming. One year is like an alien theme. This past Halloween season was a Western theme, where there was like a bank heist, bank robbery. And they have a lot of special effects and everything. So another fun ride to ride in the Halloween time. This is also one of the better rides to ride too on a crowded day, just because this will have a long line, but they have 3 trains going, and a new train arrives usually every 3 to 5 minutes, sometimes less, sometimes more, but usually 3 minutes or less a new train arrives, and the line moves fairly quick. So if it's ever really crowded at the park and you just want something to ride and relax on, this is the ride to ride. Alright, and this is pretty much the center drag here of the park, where majority of the people pass through, making their way to different parts of the park. Everything is quiet, snow covered, sealed up. Alright, here we have the Carousel. This is another ride that's won numerous awards throughout the years, and it's famous for guests trying to catch the brass ring. If you do catch the brass ring, you win a free ride on it. And I'll show you through here. Right there, the operator lowers that arm down, and metal rings will come out, and there's one brass ring. If you catch that, you win tickets for a free ride. And here's a large band organ here. It plays music for the Carousel. And here we have the covered bridge. It's a popular spot for people that like to leave their initials or little sayings. Every year they put up new planks of wood on the inside, and you bring a marker and write whatever you wish. This is also a very nice spot to sit here and sit by the stream, relax, have something to eat or some ice cream. Straight across here is the mini golf course. You can see here, these were put on new for the beginning of 2017. And they're completely covered in tags and names and drawings and everything else. A lot of people leave their Snapchats and Instagrams. This one says, text if you're bored. I wouldn't recommend leaving your phone number here, but people do it. It looks like someone got up there. I don't know why they would do that, but there's plenty of other places to write your name. Here we have a little lighthouse, and this area is popular in the summer with kids because they do little plays out of here. Almost like puppet shows, I believe. The doors open up and there's characters and they talk and put on a story. See the footprints on there from the swans. The one thing I have to give admiration for towards the park employees is that they do feed these animals throughout the year. There's always food stations throughout this creek that they are able to come and get something to eat, so they're not forced to leave. And here we go, they're hanging out in a little thawed section. Looks like that duck is taking a bath. These swans are here every year for the last several years I've seen them. Alright, here we have the roto jets. This is that rocket type of ride where you sit in there and there's a lever and you can control it going up and down while it rotates around. This I showed you earlier, the paratrooper. You never really see the rides in this condition like this with everything removed. They're almost unrecognizable. There's the Rotojet sign. These look like the canopies for the paratrooper. We saw some of those seats earlier. Under there, Cesar's Pizza. Not really too much more to see here. I think we covered just about everything. Let's take a quick look over here. Got flying turns, where I showed you earlier, and the looper. This is another giant claw machine. I actually won a giant Slimer out of there this year. This is Stony Gables Cottage. They sell peanuts and fudge and chocolates out of here. It's a really beautiful cabin here, or cottage, however you want to say it. Almost has like a Dutch or a German theme to it. And this is the flyer. Those flyer cars I showed you earlier hang from the ends of those poles up there by cables, and it spins around like a carousel, but at a much higher rate of speed. And you use those fins or sails to control your trajectory, so to speak, up and down. Alright everyone, well that's my look at Knoebels in the off season. Hopefully you enjoyed the little tour I gave you today. It's pretty unique to see the park all put away and hibernating for the winter time. I'd like to thank Knoebels for allowing me to come here and do this. Again, this is private property. They don't want people here trespassing. There's a lot of safety hazards here, so please don't attempt to come here on your own. But I just wanted to give you a look that people don't get to see every day, and give an appreciation to the park employees as to what they have to go through for the fall and springtime to get the park ready. It's a lot of hard work and dedication to keep the park in the condition it's in. So let me know in the comment section what you thought of the video. If there's anything that you saw specifically that you liked, and hit that thumbs up button also if you enjoyed it. And I'll see you on the next video.